Testing 1, 2. I'm going to ask you to do what sometimes seem to be unthinkable, but I'm asking you to do it anyway, which is to gloriously, magnificently, sensationally acknowledge yourselves. And then we're gonna take it up a level. I want you to graciously and sensationally acknowledge everybody else in here. And I want you to graciously and sensationally acknowledge the people you can't stand. That was the loudest acknowledgement. Take a breath right now. Bring your energies in. Would you mind bringing your energies in right now? It's a glorious spring day in Colorado. Only Colorado has this kind of weather, May 1st. God's will for you is perfect happiness. God's will for me is perfect happiness. God's will for me is perfect happiness. Say that. God's will for me is perfect happiness. God's will for me is perfect happiness. God's will for me is. That's the same as saying, love's will for me is perfect happiness. 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 I bless the world because I bless myself. I bless the world because I bless myself. I bless the world because I bless myself. I bless the world because I bless myself and breathe. I am never upset for the reason I think. I am never upset for the reason I think. I am never upset for the reason I think. I am never upset for the reason I think and breathe. Think about a situation that you're using to give yourself conflict. Think about a situation that you are using to make yourself feel upset. And say, I want another way to look at this. 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 I want another way to look at this and breathe. Replace all grievances. Let miracles replace all grievances. Let miracles replace all grievances. Let miracles miracles replace all grievances. I have invented the world I see. I have invented the world I see. I have invented the world I see. I have invented the world I see and breathe. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God and breathe. Oh, I just love lousy weather. It just tends to do wonders for the attendance of the class. I'm thankful for that. And lousy is just a judgment. Is there anybody here for the first time? The only guidelines to a Course in Miracles class is that you need not believe it. You need not accept it. You need not even welcome it. Some of the things that I say may be hard to believe and quite startling. I'm not really asking you to judge the ideas at all, but if you use it, you'll see that it works. Is there anyone in the house that'd like to have an easy life? Yeah. And how many people here have been successful? Okay, so since there's a possibility that you have not been successful, then there's a possibility that you maybe aren't looking at how to do that correctly. Is that true? That there may be another way to approach it. So the question I want to throw out to you is, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Happy. Okay, so in most cases that means being willing to be wrong about the way you're seeing things, especially if the way you're seeing things has not produced an easy, harmonious experience yet. And so we were talking about the last few weeks, we're trying to get through this section because it's a section that's very powerful and it can bring up a lot of resistance. And that section is the section that has to do with planning. So I'm still in lesson 135. It's called If I Defend Myself, I Am Attacked. And we left off on paragraph 12. If we're in the workbook for students in A Course in Miracles, a miracle is a correct perception, because it teaches if we have a correct perception, it's a miracle. So that's why it's called A Course in Miracles. And it describes several things: what makes the body sick, what makes things happen in your experience that completely upset you, how to have what you want, what keeps you from having what you want, and how to achieve that. Is that a worthwhile point to focus in on? Okay, that means you, as I go through this, you may promptly go to sleep. Okay, I just want to warn you right now. Okay, it says a healed mind is relieved of the belief that it must plan. So if your mind is healed, does that mean that it's saying that you no longer have the belief you must plan? If your mind is healed, is it saying you no longer have the belief that you must plan? Yes. Do you have the belief you must plan? Yes. Your mind isn't healed, according to this. Okay. Then it says, also a healed mind is a mind that cannot know the outcome which is best. So a healed mind doesn't know the best outcome. A healed mind doesn't even know how you achieve the best outcome. And a healed mind doesn't even recognize the problem that the plan was made to solve. Now, how many of you think you know sometimes the means to achieve your plan? How many of you sometimes think you know the outcome that's best? And how many of you sometimes think you recognize the problem? Okay, now notice that most of us, if we'll be honest, are raising our hands about everything that's the opposite of what it's saying a healed mind is like. So that might have something to do with why we don't have the ease that we are saying that we want, because we actually aren't doing the way that a healed mind would function. So it's not that we can't be happy, it's just that we're going about it in a way that doesn't produce it. So happiness for you and contentment for you is entirely possible, but you have to do what's necessary to have it. I knew there was a catch, right? So it then says, you must misuse your body in your plans until you recognize what we just said. And what did we just say? A healed man is relieved of the belief it must plan. And then we heard last week that a healed man is a mind that knows how to carry out the plan that it's being given. So it's not saying you wouldn't have something that you were following in the world. It's saying that you wouldn't be the one to make up the plan, because you would learn how to listen to your higher self. You would learn how to listen to your inner guidance, and you would get rid of every block that keeps you from hearing your inner guidance. And your inner guidance would then tell you what the divine plan is for your happiness. And Doug was asking me last night, what was one of the main things that I learned in the experience that I had of going through the fire in my apartment. And knowing that had I not heard inner guidance, that I probably wouldn't be sitting here today, because I would have been trapped in the apartment and probably wouldn't have survived. It was that God, or the higher power, whatever word you need to say, because you haven't worked out your God issues yet. When people haven't worked out their God issues, they can't use the word. It brings up all their resistance, which means you have an issue. No word should bring you to your knees. You can't be enlightened and a word bugs you. It means you're not quite there yet. It should be okay if you say it and okay if you do not say it. But when you find yourself resisting, the Course in Miracles says that to revolt against a concept is still to believe it. So the things that bring up the greatest resistance in you actually are the things that you still believe the most. If I say the word sin, which I learned as a fundamentalist growing up, and I have, then there's a part of me that believes in sin. Because if I didn't, the word wouldn't affect me at all. So when you think you're over something, but yet you can't even say the word, you're not. Okay, if the word Jesus or Buddha or any of those words bug you, you have an issue around it, and it takes your peace away. So it's important for us to get to the point that we don't let any word take our peace away. Okay, and so right now we're in a position to. What I was getting ready to say was, as I was getting ready to go and take a shower to come over to do my Tuesday night class, I heard a voice say to me, as plain as I'm talking to you, it said, listen. And I stopped and I listened and I heard a crackling sound. And then I went and opened up the blinds on my balcony, going out to the balcony at my apartment, and I opened it up and it was on fire. Had I not heard listen, I wouldn't have done that. The reason I heard listen is because I've been spending years studying A Course in Miracles, which teaches you how to get rid of the blocks to hearing your own internal divine guidance. I know I didn't make that voice up. I didn't have any reason to look out there. So if you think you're in this world and you don't have a higher power that's with you, a divine guidance that's with you, then you're taking the struggle route. And true divine power, true spirit, true God is not frightening, is not punishing, and is not a body or a man in the sky punishing people arbitrarily. So don't throw out the whole idea of a higher power just because of what you learned in the past as a child. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't throw out the whole concept of a higher power because you learned a concept that you don't believe in or agree with. That's great that you don't agree with the fearful perception of a higher power. But don't throw out the whole idea of a higher power just because the one you learned doesn't serve you. Because those of us who it did not feel right to hear frightening perceptions of God, we were the ones that were looked at as the ones that had the problem. And some of us came here on this planet knowing that many of the things that we were hearing just did not feel right in our soul, did not resonate with our being. And every time we tried to ask a question, we were told not to question. So there is an answer for those of us who wanted to believe in a higher power of love rather than a higher power of fear. But then there's a whole nother group of people who threw out the whole idea of a higher power and they then are an atheist. And an atheist is someone that doesn't necessarily say, I don't believe in God. The Course in Miracles teaches that an atheist is a person who thinks they are alone. If you think you're on the planet and you're by yourself and you're on your own and there's nothing to support you, that's an atheist, not someone who necessarily goes, I don't believe in God. If you believe you're alone, then you are off base as far as the truth is concerned. Because you're not alone. You're constantly receiving guidance. You're constantly receiving aid. You're constantly being told exactly. As soon as you meet somebody and you're attracted to them, you are being told internally whether you should run. But you don't hear that voice because you might be too busy projecting on them the fantasy that they are the one. So you didn't hear it. So what I'm saying is, just like I heard a voice that saved my life, that told me to listen, the same thing is happening to you all the time too. But you have to develop the ability to hear the voice by getting rid of the blocks in your own thinking that keep you from doing that. And you cannot do that without some level of attention and study. You can't do it without some level of spiritual practice. So if you believe you're going to have the kind of life that thrills you completely just by you making it up as you go along, trying to come up with your fantasies of what you think is going to make you happy, and trying to get everybody else to conform to those fantasies, you're going to keep having the kind of experience you're having right now already. I am not in this world to act out your fantasy, and you're not in this world to act out my fantasy. We are here so that we can use each other to recognize the beautiful, holy, incredible beings that are unlimited that we are. And anybody you're in a relationship with that's not helping you recognize the beauty of your being is a delaying maneuver and a distraction to your spiritual growth. Someone you're always arguing with every second, trying to manipulate, trying to get them to act the way you want them to act. You are using them as a total delay to your happiness, and they're using you the same way. Stop it. Stop it. Okay. So what's the point of everything I said? You can have an easy life when you learn how to listen. But you have to learn how to listen, right? So then it goes on to say that you're going to carry out a plan that you've been given when you learn how to listen to yourself. When you learn how to listen to yourself, you'll be following the path with heart. When you follow the path of heart, you feel totally inspired and you're in spirit, and the whole universe comes to your rescue to help bring about the thing that will give you the true joy that you deserve to have. Things that are not part of your plan for your divine happiness are always things you have to do on your own. So it looks like it's a struggle because it's your plan. So you know, based on what I just said, whether you're acting out your plan or the divine plan right now. If you're struggling financially, then you're using your financial plan. If your relationship got you one step from jumping off the top of this church, you're using your plan. If you're ready to throw your alarm clock across the room when you wake up in the morning, it goes off in the morning, you're on the job you gave yourself, not the one that's part of your divine plan. So sometimes when people first hear the chorus, it can be depressing because they have to realize how off track they are before they can get on track. And most people don't want to see how off track they are before they get on track. I'm happy to know. I'm happy to be wrong now where I never used to want to be wrong. If something's not happening in a way that would bring me joy internally, then I'm glad to say, boy, I hope I'm wrong. I don't like the way I feel, so I hope I'm wrong about this. I don't like the way I feel, so I hope I'm wrong about this. I don't like the way I feel, so I hope I'm wrong about this. I want another way to look at this. Perhaps there's another way to look at this. What can I lose by asking for another way to look at this? So it tells us that when you are not following the plan for love, the plan for happiness, he says, then you're misusing your body. So when you're not using your body for love, and you're not using your body for freedom, and you're not using your body for joy, you're misusing your body. Then it says, once you've accepted this is true, then the body is healed and you let the body go. What does it mean to let the body go? It means you're no longer seeing the body as the source of your happiness. You're really seeing your body as a means to achieve it. It used to be a time for me, the body was the goal. Like when you go out. Okay, if you see somebody and the body becomes the goal. I don't see it as a means to the goal. I think it is the goal. I want that body. I love how people go, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never wanted anybody's body. What are you talking about, man? I'm spiritual. I'm spiritual. What are you talking about? You check somebody out here today. Already. Some of y'all already checked somebody out right now. To see if there's a potential lesson in the house. Right now, going, oh, is that my lesson? Okay, all right. And then it goes on to say, enslavement of the body. How do you enslave the body? To the plans the unhealed mind sets up to save itself, must make the body sick. Enslavement of the body to the plans your unhealed mind. What is an unhealed mind? It is a mind that goes only to itself for answers and guidance, and it believes it's separate from source. It also thinks it's guilty. It also thinks it's a body. And most of all, an unhealed mind believes it's a victim of circumstances. The more unhealed your mind is, the more you think someone's doing it to you, and that you're the victim of something that's happening to you outside of yourself. The more healed your mind is, the more you believe you're responsible for your perceptions of everything. How I saw what happened to me, I'm responsible for. The event was neutral. It wasn't like the fire was going, I'm going to get Earl today. Okay, it had no personal agenda. And that's what everything in your world is like. It has no personal agenda. It's just you determining how you want to see it, and that's determining how you feel about it. All right? So it says, when your mind is unhealed, the way you can tell is because it's not free to be the means of helping in a plan that far exceeds its own protection and which needs its service for a little while. So if my mind is not healed, then it's not free. I'm so busy trying to have it my way in the way that I think is going to make me happy, which usually entails wanting somebody else to change in some way, then my mind isn't free to help in a greater plan that exceeds its own protection and which needs its service. So I want to free my mind. How do you free your mind? You say, universe, use my mind as part of a plan that brings about the greater good for everyone, including myself. Higher self, use my mind as part of the plan that brings greater good to everyone, including myself. An unhealed mind is only making plans that seem to bring it happiness and is not concerned about anybody else's joy. It's just caught up in its own personal fantasies and needs. So if you have an unhealed mind, you're only concerned about your fantasies. Doesn't mean you're guilty. Doesn't mean you're guilty. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're condemned. It just means you are using your mind in a way that doesn't set your mind free. People would almost like to be told that what they're doing is sinful more than to be told they're making a mistake. Mm-hmm. Because if someone tells you you're a sinner and you're bad, and that's just your nature, but if it's just my nature, there's nothing I can do about it. If I'm just a sinful, bad person, that's just the way I am. But if someone says, not allowing yourself to have joyful, fulfilling, prosperous, abundant experiences in your life, that's a mistake. Don't like mistake. So when you call something a mistake, your mind will automatically want to correct it. Automatically, because you've already trained your mind to not want to make mistakes. Call it a mistake to be broke all the time, your mind will try to correct that. Call it a mistake to be in relationships that don't serve your spiritual awakening or your happiness, your mind will automatically try to correct it. So you might be saying you're making mistakes all day long for a minute, but there's only one error. And the one error is, the one problem is, me believing I'm separate from my source. Because if I'm not connected to my source, it's almost like all this electrical equipment up here that I'm using, and it's a variety of it. The minute the power goes off, it's all useless. Mm-hmm. So you, without your connection to higher power, is like me trying to use a mic and it's not, the electricity isn't plugged in. Nothing's going to happen. None of your plans are going to happen without the power of love behind them, without the power of spirit behind it. You got to get in touch with that which created you, because you didn't create yourself. I can't even bake a cake. How did I create myself? There's not a person in this room can tell me what they're going to be doing 2 hours from now, specifically. We don't know. But adults try to hide the fact that they don't know by judgment. So as an adult, I judge everything because I'm trying to convince myself that I know what's going on. That's why adults judge all the time, because they don't want to admit they don't really know a damn thing. They don't really know what's going on. So we judge. I see some happy faces and I see some sad faces. I see some that look joyful and I see some that look like they're one step from pulling the gun out right now. Okay. So, and I'm gonna throw this open for questions in a minute, because I think it's important for you to be able to express yourself. One of the things that people say a lot about the ones who do appreciate my classes and do appreciate my style is that they hear a lot of what it says as opposed to a lot of people's opinions. And because they want to hear what it's saying. So that's why I don't sit in a circle and all that stuff. How many of y'all glad about that? Yeah. If some of y'all really want to hear what it's saying. It's like, before you can judge something, you should at least hear it. Right? Don't you think that's true? And if you be honest with yourself, you probably haven't heard A Course in Miracles. So how could you judge something that you've never heard And the Course teaches that the first step to a transformation of your consciousness is to hear something new, because something new is something different. And if it's different from what you already believe, that's naturally going to bring up resistance. So resistance is natural when you're hearing something totally opposite to what you believe. Most people don't want to even let themselves hear it. So what I'm doing, the role that I play, is to allow people to at least hear the Course first. And since I've been working with it for 35 years, I actually, and I'm not being egotistical when I say this, when it comes to the Course in Miracles, I can save you some time.
Thank you.
Just like if you were an auto mechanic and I knew nothing about transmissions, if I would let my ego get in the way, you could save me some time with the problem with my transmission. But that's not the way sometimes adults work. Even if they don't know something that you know, they still don't want to let you share something with them that would make it easier for them. Because adults have a hard time receiving any kind of answers that they didn't make up themselves. So they slow down their progress and their health. So it says here that the health of your body is assured if you use your body in a plan that far exceeds just your own ego. Then it goes on to say, everything the mind employs for a greater plan than its own ego, everything you use for this will function flawlessly and with the strength that has been given it and cannot fail. You cannot fail if you're acting out the true plan for your happiness, which also includes benefits for everybody else also. So you can only fail in a plan that's not the real plan. Okay? Then it says, it is perhaps not easy to perceive that self-initiated plans are but defenses, with the purpose all of defenses were made to realize. Then when you're reading the Course, you stop and go, what does that mean? Like after you get to reading the sentence, it's like it's so simple that it goes right by you. Then you go, what does that mean? It means that self-initiated plans, and this was so deep the first time I read this, it says self-initiated plans are the means by which a frightened mind would undertake its own protection at the cost of truth. So first you become a frightened mind because you're not connected to source, and so you come up with a self-initiated plan because you're trying to undertake your own protection at the cost of the truth, which is that you're not alone and you have guidance. So a person who's planning all the time is actually a frightened person who's trying to undertake their own protection at the cost of truth because they think they're all alone and on their own. Does that make sense? Yeah. You know, that's why you make plans. Because you're trying to protect yourself against something that might happen in the unknown. You're trying to take care of yourself. That's why he said only frightened minds come up with self-initiated plans, and only frightened minds who are not in touch with their higher power are making self-initiated plans. So then the mind hears that and gets upset. But there's no reason to get upset because contained within the Course is how to remove the blocks to hearing the plan. So it only frightens you if you're still thinking you're the one that's got to come up with how to get rid of the blocks to hear the voice. The way to get rid of the blocks is already here. And if you don't want it this way, there are a lot of ways in teachings that it will come to you. So I'm not saying A Course in Miracles is the only way to happiness. I'm saying it is one way for people who resonate with it. But if you're truly ready to grow and to let go of your blocks and really be happy, then the plan is going to come to you in the form you would like to have it in. And it might not be this form, but it was the form that worked for me. And then I'm here for those other people who also might want to use this form also. Does that make sense to everybody? So I'm here for those who resonate with this. And that's what you should be. You should realize that The perfect plan for you, the perfect self-expression for you, you being true to yourself, there are people who need you just like you. Not like anybody else. They need you just like you. And the way you are will be perfect for them in their level of understanding and receiving. So people who are sent to you in divine order would be people who would not be trying to change you. If anything, they will be saying, be more you. Be more you. That's your spiritual name. Be more you. Who are you? Be more you. That's my jungle name. I do not attempt to change myself for anyone at all, ever, anymore. Because by definition, they're the wrong person for me. By definition, someone that's always reflecting back to me that something's wrong with me couldn't possibly be what's right with me. And that's all you're saying when you want a person to change all the time for you. You're saying, you're not okay. You're not okay. You're wrong. You're not okay. You're not enough. You're not enough. You're not enough. You're not enough. If I believe I'm not enough, 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 I will want them. I will be turned on by them. Your level of consciousness is the level of your sexual attraction. Your level of consciousness is your level of sexual attraction. Who turns you on? If they're crazy as hell, so are you. Think about it. Why would you not be turned on by what was not resonating with you? So you can talk all this stuff all day long about the kind of person you want, but the kind of person you're attracted to is a reflection of your consciousness. Don't get depressed behind that now. So a lot of people get depressed when I say that. Because the person that they're most attracted to is also the person who least appreciates them, least acknowledges them, least supports them. And all that's saying is, I need to turn to my creator for those things, and I need to learn how to turn to myself for those things. That's all it means. Any questions about anything I've said so far? Yeah.
Way back in the beginning, you were talking about how we're not achieving the results of a healed mind, so that means we have an unhealed mind. And my ego doesn't like to think that I'm not at least making some progress in that area. So it's not like my mind is either healed or unhealed. I get to have some moments of healed mind. Right?
Well, actually, the truth is, regretfully, it is healed or unhealed.
Oh,
okay. It's sort of like, can I say I'm just a little bit pregnant? You know, not completely pregnant, but just a little bit pregnant. Give me some credit, guy. You know, there's at least a finger. But But what it is saying is you can be, you could definitely be truly moving in the direction of a true change of mind. Yeah. You know, it's like going to California. I may not be there, but I could be 1,000 miles closer. But I'm not in California. You see what I'm saying? So yes, you are supposed to totally acknowledge yourself for the willingness that you have and how much you were trying to forgive and move in that direction. Absolutely.
And the reflection that I'm getting back a lot of times is really positive and loving and beautiful, so that encourages me.
Right, absolutely. When people hear that statement that what you see is a reflection, what you see is not a reflection of you. What you see is not a reflection of you. What you see is not a reflection of you. What you see is a reflection of what's in your mind. What you see is a reflection of the thoughts in your mind. You are beyond perception. You are complete. You are love. You are whole. You are off the chain. You are awesome. That's just the way you are. That's not up to a perception. That's the truth. I don't care what you think about me. I'm not going to turn white sitting up here. You know what I'm saying? That's just a fact. Right? So what you are is a fact. That's not going to be changed by an opinion. You are loved, you are lovable, you are powerful, you are beautiful, you are innocent, you are holy, you do deserve happiness. That's the friggin' truth about you. You may not think so, but it has absolutely no effect on the truth of that statement. And my job is to remind you of the truth about you when you forget, and your job is to remind me of the truth about that when I forget. That's what a Savior does. They do not let each other forget the innate beauty that they are. And you don't have to worry about, people who don't feel that way about themselves will not be a problem for you because they won't come around you. So they are not a problem. They won't be there unless you hunt them down. They're trying to leave. But you go call them up and say, please come back to me. You don't appreciate me. You don't love me. But please come back. I need to witness to what's not true about me. Please come back. I might love myself without you. Or it could be, wow, thank you for witnessing back to me the beauty that I am, because I forgot today and I was thinking I was bad and I thought I was worthless and I thought I wasn't enough and I felt like I was a victim and I thought I was alone, and here you are to witness back to me that I truly have value until I recognize it for myself.
Well, so I'm thinking that the goal is then to align what it is that I'm seeing in my mind with the essence of me.
Right.
And when I can then recognize that the essence of...
That was awesome. Okay, what you say?
Well, because that's what I want to see. I want to see the essence of essentially me, which is then God, which is love.
That's right.
And then that would be then a reflection of the alignment of my mind and
the truth about yourself.
The truth.
Right, that's exactly right. And
so that's why I'm here, right?
That's why you're here, because you want to undo the blocks that keep you from being in alignment with who you really are, recognizing that the only thing that keeps you from being in alignment with who and what you really are the thoughts, feelings, and emotions and beliefs that you have, that you've learned from your past experience that need to be released. It's possible for your higher self to remove those ideas from your mind, but you haven't developed that much willingness as yet, so now you have to have it happen what appears to be step by step. We could have our mind corrected if we really were completely open to it. So it is possible to have your mind corrected in an instant, but it says we haven't developed that level of willingness yet. So it seems like we're doing it step by step by step. You can empty a bathtub by dipping the water out teaspoon by teaspoon, or you can empty a bathtub by pulling the plug and letting all the water go down the drain. This is pulling the plug and letting all fearful beliefs go down the drain. Most people don't want to do that because it would call for dealing with the issue of their feeling separate from their source. See, most people's solution, the Course in Miracles, I love how inconspicuous you are doing this. You're totally not being, that's, you don't stand out at all, You blend right in with the surroundings. That's what I love about you, Sarah. You got your own flavor. Yeah, that's right. Don't be afraid to have your own flavor. You know what I'm saying? Because then you have no competition when you're being yourself. You have competition when you're trying to be somebody else. That's why you don't try to live up to other people's standards of beauty or awareness or knowledge or anything. You can't be them better than them. So, I'm not going to try to be Oprah. You know what I mean? I'm going to try to be Raj because it's easy and I'm lazy.
So when you were saying that if it's God's plan or if it's the Spirit's plan that's going to be beneficial for everyone, it's interesting because I had like a inside of me when you said that. Because the ego is telling me that then that means that I'm going to have to give something up.
That's right.
I'm going to have to sacrifice
That's
something.
right.
And yeah, and it's like, this is insane. But so then a part of me wants to rebel against that idea of sacrifice and giving up. So I want to like keep like Spirit's plan at bay, because I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to sacrifice. So I'm thinking that what's best for me is to rebel so that I don't have to sacrifice. But then it's insane, because it's like reverse. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Oh, you're making perfect sense, because what you just described is the reason why the Course says everyone doesn't want to do what they think of as God's will, because they've learned that God's will demands sacrifice, or they believe that what the Creator would want them to do is not what they would want to do. The Creator wants you to go to Bangladesh and help the flood victims or something, but really what you want to do is go to Vegas. So then it looks like Spirit is asking for you to make a sacrifice. Now, what was interesting about what you just said was you were really describing your perception of what I said, right? You were the one that told yourself that being a part of the greater plan was going to result in you making a sacrifice. That really wasn't what I said. That was what you interpreted as meaning. And then you started reacting to your rebelling against your own interpretation of what I said. And that's what, in the Course in Miracles teaches that that's what we do all the time. We interpret things, and then we react to our interpretation of it as if that was the fact that we were dealing with. The fact is, I said that the plan would include your happiness and the greater good of everyone else. So if it's going to include your true happiness, then how could it demand a sacrifice? How could it demand you give up anything that you really truly want? And what you really truly want is complete fulfillment. That's what you want. Everything that you seek in life, you're seeking that thing for the experience you think that thing is going to give you. That's what we're all seeking. We're all seeking an experience. So when we say, I want a relationship, we're saying, I want the experience of love. I want the experience of joining. If I say I want a car, I want the experience of having transportation. If I say, so everything you ask for, it's because you think that thing is going to give you an experience. So when we're told we could have happiness all the time, it's not necessarily related to anything you think that you want that's going to bring you happiness. It's related to the fact that you could have the experience that you think that thing is going to give you now. Because that's the only reason why you want it anyways, because you think you're going to have the experience of love, the experience of joy. So what if I could take you straight to the experience without you having to necessarily spend the next 10 years trying to work out your plan to get it? That's what we're being told. Everything you're seeking in the future is something you could have right now, because what you're seeking right now is the feeling and experience that you think those things are going to give you. Why not go straight for the experience and then watch the experience create the form that would be best for you? You follow what I'm saying? If you go for the experience of, I want to know my freedom, and then let your desire for freedom create the circumstances that give you freedom, that's what you want to do. If you say, I want to experience love and companionship and togetherness and joining, so I'm focusing on the content instead of saying, it's got to be this form right here, then I'll let that content create the form that would be best for me. And there's no such thing as what makes you happy coming in the wrong form. If it came in the wrong form, you wouldn't be giving yourself the happiness. So people are so caught up on the form and the appearance of something, but if it's truly coming from happiness within, then the form won't matter to you anymore, because you will be experiencing the joy you thought the form was going to give you in the first place. And what happens is it ends up coming in a better form than you imagined, because that's the definition of happiness, is it coming in a form that's better than you can think of. That is what happiness is. The Course in Miracles definition of little is what? Anything we think of. It says anything we think of is little. Okay, You understand what I'm saying? So you actually can't come up with nothing good enough for you because you deserve more than you could ever imagine. Your desires actually are limiting the good you could receive because you don't love yourself enough to come up with what would be best for you. A person that's miserable is the last one that should be imagining what could make them happy. Their limited consciousness doesn't even know how to think big enough to make themselves happy. That's why they're so miserable. Their own thinking. You need to get outside your thinking. That's where happiness is really located. Especially if you're unhappy. So I'm an advocate for your joy by remembering who you are when you forget. And you do the same thing for me. Okay? Yeah.
So quick follow-up. So then, if I hear you correctly, it's a win-win.
That's the problem.
I'll have fulfillment, I'll have happiness, and it'll be for everyone's good.
Yeah, because if I'm really, really happy, it's for your good. You know, I'm much less likely to beat you up, rob you, and murder you if I really feel good. So your happiness is intricate to the piece of the universe. It's the miserable people that give hell to everybody, not the happy ones. When you become happy, you don't even want to hang on to agreements. The last thing you're going to care about is what your mama did, what your father did, what happened when you was a child, who you got dropped on your head when you was 3. That's why you can't have a relationship. You let go of all that stuff because you feel good. When you feel good, you don't want anything to interfere with that. So the last thing you would do is spend all your time focusing on what you think somebody has done to hurt you or make you unhappy. You don't even have time for it. Your present moment is so full that it's taking everything you got just to be able to handle all the good stuff that's trying to get to you, let alone spending time trying to forgive somebody for what you think they did to you a year ago. Unhappy people, miserable people, they're the ones who sit around and think about what was done to them that makes them miserable. If they would allow themselves to be happy, they would drop it. So your happiness is practical. Your happiness and your abundance is practical. It's the best thing you could do is for everybody in your life. So anybody that cares about you, they're going to go, I want your peace and I want your happiness. Even if it was a relationship and I was with someone and they were saying to me that for whatever reason I was not meeting the whatever it was they thought they needed and they thought they needed somebody else, if I truly loved them, I would say, you know what, I'm going to feel my feelings about that. I'm not going to be in denial. But you know what? I really want you to be happy. And if somebody else and being in another situation would truly make you happy in your perception, then to show you my love, because love would do this, I free you to have that experience. I said, the Course in Miracles teaches you what a loving person would say to you, what a loving man would say to you. That way, when you're listening to people, you'll know when you're listening to a sane person and when you're listening to an insane one. You'll know when you're listening to a loving person, and you'll know when you're talking to somebody that has not the slightest idea of what love is. And the ones you know the difference between what's real and what's not, you're intelligent enough to make the choice for the thing that you see is real. He says we just don't know the difference. That's why we hurt so much, is because we don't know when we're asking for pain. So it tries to teach us how to tell when we're getting ready to hurt ourselves, because most of the things that we hurt ourselves through is because we don't recognize what it really is. Poison that tastes sweet will kill you as quick as poison that tastes bitter. Now the bitter poison, you go, and you probably won't let it, but that sweet poison, So when we're into that, so sometimes you're drinking sweet, you might have a sweet poison relationship. You might have a sweet poison job. You might have a sweet, you see what I'm saying? A lot of times you're hurting yourself and it doesn't look like it and you don't know it. And the Course teaches us how to tell when we going for the sweet poison so that we won't kill ourselves. It's all about our love. So do you love yourself enough to join with the idea of your happiness enough for you to recognize you don't really know, and then say, I'm willing to be taught. I want to let go of the blocks. I don't want to wait for my happiness anymore. I'm ready to have it now because it comes from within. I've heard that a million times all my life. But what does that really mean? It means that I'm the one that's giving everything all the meaning that it has for me, so I'm the one that's determining how I feel about everything. So if I could change the meanings that I'm giving to everything, I could have happiness with everything that's happening, and then everything in my life would be a channel for joy for me. All of it, every part of it. And it's available today. Thank you for listening to this much Holy Spirit. Come on, to give it to you. Can I have some? Yeah, it's okay for me to ask for it too. Thank you. Thank you. All that you give is given to yourself. So let's do your favorite part, the financial expression of appreciation. Here you go. Okay, I'm gonna run through this kind of fast because I want to try to get the end on before the tape runs out. Tuesday at 7 o'clock, we do a class called The Way of Mastery. Those of you who have not taken the opportunity to check out this class, you really should check this class out. It's a very powerful class. It is about just what it says, the way of mastering every aspect of your experience in a way that you experience that joy that we're talking about. It might be another tool in your arsenal of joy that you could use. There is no problem that you have that hasn't already been solved. Mm-hmm. There's no problem that you think you have that has not already been solved. So if you don't avail yourself to the answers that are readily available to you right now, it's actually a reflection of your desire to still suffer. So let go of your desire to suffer so you'll avail yourself of what's available to you. That's the truth. And no change, there is no change that doesn't take attention and study at some level. Sorry, there is no change that doesn't take some level of attention and study at some level. Those of you who are watching online, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, and I love you so much, go to my website, earlpurdy.com, earlpurdy.com, and also I'm available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions, where we take all of this stuff and we apply it to the situation that you've had enough of and you're ready to have released. And those of you who are open to more intuitive ways of getting information, I also have practiced astrology and numerology for over 30 years. And those of you who know nothing about it,